Okay, so today we're going to continue with day 2 of geometric sequences. If you remember from last Friday, from last time that we met, we started talking about geometric sequences. And in the geometric sequences, we have what we call a common ratio. Okay, a common ratio is the number that we are either multiplying or dividing by in order to get the next term. Okay. Okay, and another vocabulary term is the zeroth term. Okay, you are familiar with this because we talked about this when we talked about the arithmetic sequences. Remember, the zero term is the number before the first term. Okay, and we usually work backwards to find the zero term. Okay, we always work backwards. Okay, so we're gonna go over these 3 examples. Let's go ahead and get started with the first one. We start with a 2, 6, 18, blank, blank, blank. And it's asking us to find the missing values or the missing value or values, then state the common ratio and the zero term. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the first example. So what are we doing to 2 to turn it into a 6? Okay, and then what are we doing to 6 to turn it into an 18? Okay, so one way to do this, or one way to find this out of what we're doing, is by dividing. Okay, so finding the ratio. Okay, and I'm going to do that right here. I'm going to divide 6 by 2, and that gives me 3. Okay, 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. And let me do the same thing with 18. So I have 18 divided by the previous number. In this case, that is the 6. And 18 divided by 6 gives me 3. Okay, so if you notice, I have 3 and 3, which tells me that my common ratio should be 3. So I can actually go to here and say the common ratio is 3, and we are multiplying by 3. Now when we are dividing, then we put a fraction. Okay, always put a fraction when we're dividing. Okay, so now let's go ahead and check. 2 times 3 gives me 6. 6 times 3 gives me 18. And then we have 18 times 3, which gives me times 3, and that gives me 54. So I'm going to put that here, 54. Okay, and then I can multiply 54 by 3. So 54 multiplied by 3, and that is going to give me 162. So when you're working on this, you might want to go ahead and use your decimals to make sure that you are finding the right values. Okay, and then again I have one more blank, so 162 multiplied by 3 gives me a total of 486. Okay, and that's we have completed the first sequence. Now all we have left is to identify our zero term. Okay, but to do that, we need to find the number before. So what is the number before the first term? Okay, and again, we do the opposite. So if the common ratio is multiplying by 3, then we're going to divide by 3. Okay, and for this, I'm actually gonna go to decimal so that I can show you. And I have 2 divided by 3, which gives me 0.666666667. But I don't want that. I'm gonna put it as a fraction. So I click on this little guy, and that gives me 2/3. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my worksheet, and that's what I'm going to type here. So my zeroth term is 2/3. 2 divided by 3. And on example 2, we have blank. So the first term is missing, is one of the terms that we need to find. I have -5, -20, and -80, blank, blank, and blank. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and find the term that it's missing. Okay, so to do that, we need to first find the common ratio. And what are we doing to -5 to make it into a -20? Okay, so let's go ahead and divide -20 divided by -5. You see how my negative looks all weird? I don't want it out there. I want it with a 20. Okay, so -20 divided by -5. I want to go to my decimals and put in -20 divided by -5. And it does the same thing here. So negative and negative. That gives me +4. Okay, so here I'm going to type it's equal to 4. And then I'm going to go to the next one. So what do we do to -20 to get to -80? Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to divide 80 divided by -20, and it's actually -80. So I'm gonna go to decimals here and say -80 divided by -20, and that again gives me 4. So I can say that my common ratio should be 4. We are multiplying each term by +4. Okay, so I'm gonna put here 4. Now we're going to go ahead and find the missing values. We know that -5 multiplied by 4 gives me -20. -20 multiplied by 4 gives me -80. And -80 multiplied by 4, so times 4, I get 320. So that's what I'm going to put here. 320. And then I'm going to do the same thing. 300 and negative. Oh, I forgot the negative. Let me write that. Negative. -320 times 4. That gives me -1,280. So that's what I'm going to put right here. -1,280. Let me move it a little bit more this way. Perfect. And one more time, -1,280 multiplied by 4 gives me 5,000, -5,120. -5,120. Okay, and I have done that one. Now I need to find the first term because the first term is missing. Okay, so to find the first term is like we're gonna go backwards. So if I have been multiplying, the inverse, the opposite of that is to divide. So I'm going to divide by 4. -5 divided by 4. And to do that, I'm going to go here to decimals. -5 divided by 4. That gives me -1.25. Or, because I like putting fractions, -5/4. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and type -5/4. And I still need to find my zero term because that was just the first term. So now I have to do -5/4 divided by 4. So again, I'm going to go here to decimals and I'm going to say, I'm going to put all this in parentheses. I'm going to put divided by 4, and that gives me -5/16. Okay, -5/16. Okay, so the zero term, we said that it was negative 5/16. -5/16 for my zero term. And on example number 3, we start with blank. So our first term is missing again. 360, 180, 90, blank, and a blank. Okay, so here we're going to again determine what are we doing to go from 360 to 180. Okay, so we're gonna find the ratio, and to do that I need to divide. So I'm gonna go, what am I doing to 360 to go to 180? Okay, so I'm gonna divide 180 divided by 360. And to find the answer to this, I go to decimals. And let me delete all of this. We don't need that anymore. 360, 180 divided by 360. So it's 1/2. Okay, so 1/2. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing here. So take 1/2. And now what are we doing to go from 180 to 90? Okay, so we're gonna divide again. We're gonna do another ratio, 90 divided by 180. And that is going to give me, well, let's go to decimals. 90 divided by 180, that gives me 1/2 as well. Okay, so when you get 1/2 for the common ratio, that generally tells us that what we're doing is we are dividing. Okay, so we are dividing by the number below. So we are actually dividing by 2. Okay, so we can say 360 divided by 2 gives me 180. 180 divided by 2 gives me 90, and so on. Okay, so that's one way that you can think about this, by dividing. Okay, so now 90 divided by 2 gives me 45. And 45 divided by 2 gives me 22.5. Okay, so now all we have left is to find the first term and the zeroth term. Okay, so if we have been dividing, we divide by 2 to find the first term. Since we're finding the number before, we're going to work backwards. Okay, so instead of dividing, now we're going to multiply. So 360 multiplied by 2 is going to give me my first term. So I'm going to multiply 360 multiplied by 2 is going to give me the first term, which happens to be 720. And now all I have to do is find the first term, the zeroth term, which I would multiply to 720 by 2, and that gives me 1440 as the zeroth term.